Hello and welcome back to another tech tutorial. I'm Christy, aka That Spanish Teacher, bringing you tips and tricks for the classroom because you want to work smart and not harder because you work hard enough. Today, I'm excited to bring you an updated tutorial on how to use peardeck, especially peardeck Premium. If you've never used peardeck before, peardeck is an add-on for Google Slides that allows you to make any Google Slides presentation where you've already created it or it's a brand new one and make it interactive for students to use a device to answer questions. I'm going to show you today how to create your own slideshow and how it can be used in the classroom. So the first thing you obviously want to do is start up by opening a Pear Deck presentation or a Google Slides presentation because we can make any Google Slides into a Pear Deck presentation. You're going to go in and you're going to click on the add-ons button here. And when you go down to get add-ons, you're going to search for the Pear Deck add-on. I already have it, so it's not going to come up for me. But as you can see, once you downloaded it, it will come up here in your add-ons bar. And you're going to move over here to Open Pear Deck add-on. So as you can see, this toolbar pops up on the side, and this is what's going to take our Google Slides to the next level and make them interactive with our students. So I'm going to name our presentation Pear Deck, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a variety of slides and show you what they look like when you add the different types of question features in and how you can make them versatile for what type of lesson you're trying to do. So as you can see on the right-hand side, we have a number of different question types that we can ask students. The first is the text option. This is my most commonly used feature, and I think it's a great way to have students interact with your material in class, whether that be direct instruction that you're teaching for the first time, or if you're practicing and perfecting new material. This is really effective because if you have the premium feature, during the lesson, you can scroll through and review student answers and see who wrote what responses in exact time, and you can get a very good glimpse of which of your students understand the information that you're teaching or reviewing, and which students may need a little bit of extra help. This can be key for doing differentiation or just making sure that you're scaffolding your lessons appropriately. So I'm going to click Add Text, and as you can see, the little working bar comes up with the dancing pear, so cute. And then you see down here at the bottom, this little toolbar attaches to any of your Google Slides, and it says Students Write Your Response. Students will also be able to see this during presentation mode, so they know what is expected of them for each slide. So if I wanted to, I can go in here and say, what is your favorite color? And then when students go to open the slide, they will see this question. And then they will also have an answer button, which will allow them to pick and choose how they can write a text to respond to this question. And I will show you what that looks like from the student end in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this slide and I'm going to click paste. So this is a great way to shortcut because as you can see, it took a couple of seconds for me to add in that question feature. So if you're doing a slideshow where you want a bunch of written text questions, instead of making new slides and clicking and doing text for each one, and including that ABC in there, what you can do is you can duplicate the slide in Google Slides, which if you don't know, you can just do Control-C, Control-V, which is copy-paste, or you can always right-click on any of the slides and do Duplicate Slide. When you duplicate a slide that has a Pear Deck edition, it also duplicates that edition to the other slides that you are using. Another helpful hack is if you have a slideshow already created and you want to make it Pear Deck compatible, you can go ahead and you can click on a slide that already has the Pear Deck add-on that you would like to add. You can click on that add-on and click copy and then do paste into that slide. As long as you have that little toolbar down at the bottom, your slideshow is interactive. This isn't going to work with everyone. For example, multiple choice, which I'll show you in the moment, it will copy the same multiple choice question and responses. So if you have a different question, you don't want the same answers for a different question. However, if you're doing the text feature, you want a different open-ended response for each question, and it's not going to matter that you have the same bar here added each time. The students will be able to write the response that's appropriate for the question that you're giving. So I'm going to delete the slide that we just created, and I'm going to click on this one that I had here and say, what is your favorite color again? And I'm going to click on the little toolbar, and I'm going to delete it out because now I want to try a different response, which is multiple choice. So as you can see, when you do a multiple choice slide option, it gives you the ability to choose an A, B, or C option. So I'm going to do blue, red, and green. If you want, you can add another and do yellow. And you can update your slide. So once you update your slide, it's going to include those as your multiple choice responses, which again is why you wouldn't want to copy and paste this toolbar, because if your next question is, what is your favorite food? The multiple choice responses will still be blue, red, green, and yellow, which obviously doesn't make sense for your favorite food. So if you're doing multiple choice, you would want to make sure to make a new multiple choice option for every single slide that you're creating. It is important to note that as we were creating that slide, there is no way to indicate what the correct response is. peardeck does not mark right and wrong. It is not a self-correcting system. It is far better used in order to read the responses of students and engage either in the moment if you're doing live teaching or afterwards if you're doing asynchronous work. To gauge where students are, you can also give feedback, which is a new feature, or just to better adjust your lesson planning and where you're going with your material. So that was one of our multiple choice. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that same slide again. I'm going to delete out that toolbar because I don't want multiple choice for this one. The next one you can do is number. So this is just going to be that instead of having students do a text response, it's going to force them to enter a number. So we can do what is your favorite number instead of what's your favorite color. I'm going to copy and paste another slide. I'm going to delete that out. And this is a great feature. It's the website prompt. So I really love to use this as a way to tier different activities or sequence activities and have it so that students don't get lost in the list of activities that you want them to complete in one class. Especially if you're doing asynchronous work, if you want students while you are not together in the classroom to do activity A, B, C, and D, if you have those all posted to perhaps Google Classroom or some other platform, I don't know about you, but I sometimes get comments from students or emails saying, I can't find that activity, I didn't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. You know the drill. So if you use the peardeck feature and you use the website prompt, you can insert websites or activities, for example, a Google form, right into this peardeck. So you could include information in the first couple slides telling students how to do things, and then insert a website prompting them to go right into the next activity. Or, for example, I've inserted YouTube videos for students to watch, or I've inserted, like I said, Google Forms in order for them to try a mini assessment that is self-grading. So if you don't particularly like that peardeck isn't self-grading, there are ways to get around that. You can stop mid-lesson and prompt students to go to a website of a Google form, have them fill that out, and as we know, Google Forms are self-grading. If you've never done a Google form that's self-grading before, I do have a YouTube tutorial on that as well, so go ahead and check that out because that's another great way to work smarter, not harder in the classroom. So I'm not going to use actually that one because we don't really need it. We're not going to prompt students to go to a website. But another great feature we can do is I'm going to click draw. So this can make any slide that you have. It's going to take whatever is in that PowerPoint slide, and students can draw anywhere on the slide. What's nice as well is that there is a text feature within that, so they can insert a text box within any part of the slide as well. So they can draw or they can add text on different pieces of the slide. Just be aware, students are students. Sometimes they draw naughty things. If you have the peardeck Premium, you can see in live time what students are doing, and it shows you exactly what students are engaged and what students are drawing, and you can preview before you show it to the class. But if you are using the free feature, that is something that you might want to keep for the students that you know are the most responsible in regards to their academic honesty and integrity. The last thing that you can do, and I'm going to copy the last slide again, is I'm going to do a draggable, which is really great. So draggables are an option where it can give you an icon and you can have students drag that icon to wherever they want on the screen. So, for example, you can choose down here which icon that you would like. So I'm going to choose the little heart because we're doing the what's your favorite number, which we'll see which one we heart. And then I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then I can make that really big. Oh, wow, that was way too small. Okay. And then what I can do is I can have it so that when students open up this slide, they're going to go ahead and they're going to drag that little heart icon to whichever number is their favorite. And what's really great is I can show you that Pear Deck when you're presenting it and you're looking at the dashboard view, which is the teacher side, you can choose how you want to view the material and how students answered. So there's a lot of different things that you can do that are really great with Pear Deck. Another really exciting update is they have added so that you can add an audio to your slide. This is brand new. This is really great, for example, for myself, I'm a world language teacher, so this would be a great way for you to insert perhaps a listening. You can record yourself speaking, and you can have students listen and write a reaction or draw what they were hearing or whatever it may be. It could be a really great interactive tool for you to use. This would also be, for example, if you're doing a flipped classroom lesson. If you want to include in one section a personal note from you from the teacher, recording what you would say in the classroom, you can do that here so students can listen to it. But please note, students do not have the option for them to record back to you yet. That is not an option, but you can include an audio of yourself, which I think is really neat. Other great stuff that has been new and updated to Pear Deck is how they have so many interactive slides for you to use. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with Pear Deck. You don't have to start from scratch. Pear Deck has a ton of amazing template slides that's here in their template library that you can steal and tweak for whatever you want to do. They have ones that are catered to what type of lesson that you're doing and what type of question, so the beginning, during, and end of your lesson. So they have bell ringers and do nows. For example, what did you learn from the homework? Or think of a question that your classmates might have about what we're doing, or starting a new topic today. What do you wonder about today's topic? And what's nice is that all of these slides are editable. So maybe you don't want to say, what did you think about the homework last night? What did you learn from our do now earlier in class? Or what did you learn from our conversation at the beginning of class? Things like that. They also have during lesson ones, which can help you to gauge students' understanding in the middle of a lesson, summarize what you've just learned. This is one of my favorite ones, drag a dot to how you are feeling. So that's one of those draggable icons where students can show how they are feeling about the material in live time. That's one of my favorite things about Pear Deck is that it's anonymous, and I'll show you a little bit more what I mean about that later on, but it allows students to communicate with you directly without the fear of being embarrassed in front of their peers. And this is a perfect way to do that temperature check to see how they're doing with the material in the middle of your lesson. This is also a great way for you to differentiate and pull students to the side that are struggling with the material and have other students move forward with the work. And so that way you can better tackle those students that are struggling. There are also end of the lesson questions that allow students to get a little bit deeper in their thoughts, summarize, think, and again, you could also do a little bit of a temperature check to see how students are feeling about the material once you have completed. Or you can even just do a little survey. Did you like the lesson, yes or no? Not only that, they also have ones that are catered specifically to what type of content you are teaching. I love that they have added these two in, the critical thinking and the social emotional learning. I don't know about you, but SEL is so important in my school, and so these are a fantastic slides. This is one of my favorites. I did this with my students last week. What is filling your bucket today and what is draining it? I don't know about you, but I'm constantly striving to connect better with my students, but there's so little time I feel sometimes to do that, especially for myself. I teach in a high school classroom. I need every minute of that class to go towards our curriculum. And I don't want to sacrifice student relationships in order to get that done. So this is a great way that you could do a quick warm up or an exit slip and gauge how students are feeling in your classroom and connect with them on a deeper level. There's critical thinking ones, which are great for any topic. And then they also have ones that are specific for whatever you're teaching. I think this is amazing. These are one of the newer ones, the littles K through 2, math, science, social studies, myself, world language, which I love, and ELA. If you are a math teacher especially, I think that this is invaluable for you. They have so many great templates in regards to like geometry. They have really great ones for line graphs and everything like that. There's so much you can do and tweak. The same thing goes with science and other topics. They have all like the periodic table. You can go in and you can insert different diagrams. And again, like I said, all of this is editable. So you could have your own diagrams and you can insert them here and have students labeled at the different parts of whatever you are teaching. So there's so much that you can do and steal from here, which I think is so fantastic. I really love it, and I have definitely done this. You can even see here, once I click in world languages, I can see that they have one about fruits that I may want to steal. So when I pull it up and I add this slide into my presentation, it automatically puts it in there exactly as it was created. And once I open it up, I can say, oh, all these are actually in French. I don't teach French, so I can just quickly go ahead and I can click on this and I can remove it and I can put in the correct term in Spanish. You can also change the icons. They're all deletable. So if I wanted to, and I haven't taught my students how to say apple yet, but I still want to use this slide, I can delete out that apple and I can search for a different image and look for instead maybe a watermelon, because that's something my students know from their vocabulary. So there's so much that you can do and steal and tweak and perfect for whatever your lesson may be and make it your own for your students in your classroom. So now that we have created this presentation that is interactive with our students, I want to show you what it looks like when you actually go ahead and present it for both the teachers and the students. So I'm going to go up here, and once you are ready, you can click Start Lesson. So this is another great thing that they added, which is super helpful for us with digital learning. So you have two options once you click Start Lesson. You can choose a student-paced activity, which means that students open a link. They are dumped directly into your Pear Deck presentation, and they have the ability and capacity to move through each slide of the presentation and answer the questions at their own pace, exactly as the name states. This is really great for any asynchronous work, or like I said, maybe you find that your students are struggling, a couple of them, you want to pull them to the side and do some small group work. Do small group with those students, tell everyone else, hey, you guys keep going with the presentation. Then we're going to sync up back together and go over it together. There's so much that you can do with student pace. I personally love to use student pace option for sub plans because it is great to have all of that work live time submitted to me. No, I forgot to click submit, nothing like that. There is no submit button on Pear Deck. The moment they start typing, it submits it and saves their work, which is fantastic. And also, like I said, you can do multiple activities within one slideshow and link them in, and you can make sure it's all in one thing. Good to go. I'm telling you, it is the easiest sub plans in the world. I love doing it. You also have the option to do instructor pace activity, which would mean that you are teaching in live time in the classroom. This is the majority of the time how you would probably be using Pear Deck, because this is where you can really have that valuable live interaction and live understanding of how students are doing with the material. So once you click that, it's going to start launching the presentation. It might take a minute. And as you can see, it pulls up this join page. So at the top, it gives the link joinpd.com, which is the link that students use and go to in order to join your presentation. Then it gives them a letter code in order to enter, and it gives them an acronym in case they can't tell if maybe it's an I or an L, and they can go ahead and enter into the presentation. When you do that, it's going to ask them to enter via their email. So you can record and see exactly who answered what, at what time, how often, how long it took them to do, what they said, how they said it, all that stuff. You get so much data from this, which again, I love so much. All right, so I adjusted my camera so we can see a little bit more of the controls better. And this is how your students are going to enter your presentation, and you're going to see that instant work with them. Over here, you can see it says no students connected. So once students start entering, you will immediately see that they are entering the presentation and that they are going to be responding. So I'm going to go ahead and click off for 1 second, and I'm going to add myself into the presentation so we can see both student view and teacher view. All right, so I have joined the presentation both as a student and as a teacher. So now as the teacher side, I can see it says down here there is 1 student connected. So as soon as I'm ready to go, I can go ahead and start the class, which means we're going to be forced out of this join page and into the first slide of the presentation. At any point, once you start it, you can go back up here to the top right-hand corner. If a student is struggling to join, click that expand and it'll open it back up again. Students can enter the presentation at any point, so don't feel like if a student's taking too long that you can't progress with the lesson. You can just go ahead and start and have them join whenever they like. If they get kicked out for any reason, they can also join the same exact way. The code is always up in the top right-hand corner. From the student end, as you can see, now that the join code has been closed, I am being forced to the first slide of the presentation that we created, which just says Pear Deck as the title. So now I'm going to start class. So I have a couple of options. So the first option is I can click invite class. So this, if you are connected to Google Classroom, allows you to send a link directly to your classes in Google Classroom and have that link pop up in the stream so students can go ahead and join via that way. I don't super recommend that just because I have had issues with that in the past. It's possible they may have tweaked it, but I kind of did get scared off. So I don't really do that. There are two options though. You can give students a link. This is a great way to do it, especially if you are doing the self-paced option. Or again, if students are just joining like this in live time, there's no reason they can't just look at the code. If you're doing a hybrid schedule or you're doing totally digital, you can present your screen and students can join in via the code like this. Something that's really, really, really nice about peardeck, as I will show you in a moment, is that students do not need to see your projector in order to complete the activity. So what that means is that from the student end, I can see everything that is being presented from the teacher end on my screen. I don't need to see a projector. This is what would be on the projector in classroom, or personally at home, this is what I see on my screen in peardeck. So it's great for students because they can follow along with a presentation without having to look up at a screen. They have it on the screen that's in front of them. So this is really, really, really great for notes. If you have students with like visual impairments, if they can't really see what's on the board, they will have a live copy that you're going through on their device right in front of their hands, which is really wonderful. I've loved using that option. So you also have the option to do open teacher dashboard. So that's going to open another tab. So we currently have 3 tabs open if you haven't caught on. So the first tab that we have open here is the projector tab. So this is what I would put up on my projector screen and I would project to the students who are live in the classroom. Okay, so that's our projector view. Then we have the teacher dashboard. Teacher dashboard is your control and command center. Students should not see this, okay? I really recommend, if you're going to be using the teacher dashboard, you have options to open it on a different device, or you can open it in a different tab. I really recommend doing it on a different device if you don't have a split screen option, because this is where you're going to be able to preview students' answers with their names attached, okay? You don't want students in the class to be able to see that because that's a really kind of dicey situation. So if you have, for example, a laptop open, I've done it with my phone in class. I will go around. This is a great way to stay mobile in the classroom. I will pull peardeck open on my phone, on my Safari or whatever, it may be Google Chrome, and I will walk around the classroom, and that helps the students to stay engaged too. Because if I see someone's not going to answer, I'm going to go and stand right by that person and be like, why haven't you typed anything yet? And it's awesome. So this is a great way for, in the normal classroom, to stay mobile and walk around and to be able to really see who's engaged, who's not. So we have our teacher dashboard view, which again, either a different tab or a different device from our projector view. And then lastly, this third tab is our student view. So this is what it looks like if you are a student in my class, okay? So I'm gonna come over here to the teacher dashboard, and I'm gonna show you some of the features that we have here on the teacher dashboard. So you can't really see it down here at the bottom because my little controls for Screencastify are blocking it, but there are normally just 2 little arrows. It's a back and forward arrow. Just like you would have for any presentation, it's just gonna help you to control whether you're moving forward in the presentation or moving backwards. You can use those little buttons, or you can simply click on the screen that you would like to go to, and it will manually force students to go to that screen. So as you can see, if the slide is not interactive, there's very little going on down here, okay? The first slide that we created in our presentation didn't have a question. It was just a title slide. So you can see there's really not much going on here, and the same thing goes for the student view. All I see is text. There's no option for me to respond. All I can see is what's going on in this slide, and I can see how many slides there are in the presentation total. Back to the teacher view, I'm gonna go down here to the second slide. So now that I have the second slide open, a lot more things are happening down here at the bottom, okay? It says that students are waiting, I'm waiting for student responses, which means that this is a slide that I created a question for. So I'm gonna show you the student view now, and you can see this is the slide that the students are seeing. Oh, the slide says, what is your favorite color? And students know they need to write a response, and then here is my text box on the side. If students are doing it via a laptop or a larger device, this is what it will look like. If they are on a phone, it will just be smaller, and there will be a button that allows them to switch to this screen over here on the right-hand side so they can actually answer. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna type in my favorite color, which is green. So as you can see, once I typed it in, I have the option to add another response. So I can just erase this one, change it to blue. Or if I say, ooh, I actually have 2 favorite colors and I want to add both of those in here, I can add another response. Now, mind you, I can also just click enter and I can add both in the same text response. But if I want to, I can do 2 responses for the same question. So again, you as a teacher could have students add multiple responses for the same question. So you could see their first instinct as a response, or maybe after a little bit of instruction, say, okay, now add another response. After what we just talked about, what do you think now? So there's a lot of layering and a lot of scaffolding that you can do with the different tools that are available here in Pear Deck. So now flipping back to the teacher view, we can see here that Christy, which is me, has answered and said blue or green. Now, I can't totally show you right now, but if I started to delete it, you would instantly see it. Let's see if I can try and get it so you can see it. Okay, see how there's these 3 little bubbles? Okay, no different than a text message on like your iPhone or something. When someone is in the middle of texting, it does the ... to show you that this is happening right now in live time. And it gives you a live update. So if you are teaching live in the classroom, you know exactly who is typing, exactly who is doing nothing. So if you see, little Johnny over there, and he's over here clicking away on his phone, but you're looking at his answer and nothing's coming up, there's no text happening, you know he's not engaged in the Pear Deck, and that's not a good thing. You also get a summary of how many students have not responded at all. So if I go ahead and completely erase my answer and delete it, normally down at the bottom, let's see here, there would be a list, if I had multiple students, of students who had answered it up here, and then students who had not answered it down at the bottom. So you can scroll all the way down to the bottom to students who have not typed a single thing. This shows I at least tried and deleted my response, but if I haven't typed anything yet and other students have, my name's going to show down here on the bottom. So you know this might be someone you want to pay a little bit of attention to and maybe call out and say, hey, why aren't you doing your work? Okay, so this is really great because as you can see, it is live in time, and it's really nice to be able to, again, gauge what the students are understanding. If I add another response, like we showed, we have the option to do, you will see my name with 2 different responses, and then down the right-hand side, it says 1 of 2. So you know I've submitted 2 different responses and which one was first. Again, awesome. Another fantastic feature is all the buttons that are popping up here. So you have the option down here to show responses. So this is going to go back to our projector view. So we're going to go back to the projector view tab. So this is what I'm projecting in the classroom up on the PowerPoint slide. So now this is what the students can see. So as you can see, there's been 2 answers submitted, green and blue, but nowhere does it say that Christy is the one who wrote those. A fantastic feature of Pear Deck. You can display student answers anonymously, even though to you, they are not. This is a great way to tweak student answers, to highlight student answers, so many things without embarrassing them. I personally have a policy in my class that my students know about, which is that if I call on you during a Pear Deck, it means you got the right answer because I already previewed it and made sure that you were the one who was correct. So my students can have a lot more confidence responding in the classroom because they know I've already previewed it and made sure it's correct. This is also a great way if you find that someone makes a common error and be like, ooh, I see a lot of people do this. Instead of calling that person out saying, hey, let's look at this answer. I see that this person wrote green. I know a lot of people tend to think that. A lot of you wrote green. So why might this person have thought green? And no one knows that I'm the one who wrote green except for me and the teacher, because as you can see, it's projected up here on the screen as totally anonymous. Let's say, for example, I didn't write blue. I wrote something really inappropriate. And you don't want that to be shown. You wanted to show everyone's responses except, dang it, this really inappropriate response is here. Well, guess what? You can go right over here to these 3 buttons and you can click hide response. So now when I go back to the projector view, only green is there. So if I had 50 responses that were fantastic and 1 terrible one, I can hide that 1 terrible one and show everyone else's really great responses, which is fantastic. But now let's say, for example, the opposite has happened. Maybe I don't want to show everyone's answers. I want to show just one person's answer because maybe everybody got it wrong except for this one person. I can also go to this little button called Star Answer. And now when you come to the preview, I only see the one that I starred. And you can go and do multiple stars, so I can star both of them, and now both of them have appeared up here. Or you can just do one. And when you're done, if you don't want them to show anymore, you can do clear stars, and it erases who you starred, and you can start all over again, which is awesome. Another great feature that they have added recently is this little chat bubble. So you can see once you hover over it, it says leave feedback. So you now have the option to give feedback to students if, for example, they're doing live lessons. That can be great, but it's a little bit time consuming. This is a little bit better for student-paced work and it's asynchronous work. So you could go in and preview the students' responses and see how they're doing with the work. And you can go in and leave feedback. So I can say, great job, Christy. And I can send that feedback to her. And I can add more if I want to, but please note, once you send it, it is out there. It's like a text message. It's gone. You can't get it back. So make sure you preview it before you click submit. So now on the student end, I can see, ooh, I have new feedback, and I could go ahead and click this little chat bubble, and I can see this work from my teacher giving me response on how I've done everything. So I'm going to click mark it as read, and so now my teacher knows I saw that, and I know exactly what is going on, what they think, all that stuff. Please note that although this is an amazing feature, it does not notify them. So even though you saw that I had that little bubble that said I had new feedback, there's no notification system. So if I did this work asynchronously, and then this evening, my teacher goes in and gives me work, the next day, or excuse me, gives me feedback, the following day, or when she leaves the feedback for me, I'm not going to get an email or something to go back and check that work. So you would ideally want to say, hey, everyone, I went into everyone's responses. I gave everyone feedback. Please go back into the presentation in student-paced mode and check out what I wrote for you for each slide so you can get some feedback on how you did. So again, it's not self-grading, but you can leave feedback for students. You can give them some sort of understanding of where they at if it's not that live in-time work where you're showing what the answer is. But it does not give them a notification, so be aware of that. Students do not know it's there unless you tell them. You choose yours is the case. So there's other buttons down here too. A great button, which I love, is this one right here, which is the lock screen button. So once I click that, you can see it turns bright red. I'm going to take off the show responses button, so we're no longer presenting anything in presentation mode. It's just on the slide that's asking the question. But on the student mode, you can see it says your teacher has locked your responses for this slide. These are your answers. So I cannot change these answers. That's it. This is what I submitted. But now as a teacher, I have time to go through and review everyone's answers, see what they wrote, and if I see that it's correct, I can say, hey, Christy, I can see you got the right answer. Can you share it with the class? And I can still see my response here on my own device of what I wrote and submitted for this question, which is really nice. You have options for the lock screen. You can click it like I did, which is an immediate lock for everyone. I like to do this when I'm talking, so students don't type while they're listening. They just stop and listen. You also have the option to hold down the timer button or the lock button and get timers. So there's three options. There's 30 seconds, 1 minute, and 3 minutes. So there's so much you can do in that amount of time. And you can also stack them. So say, for example, you gave them a minute, you realize that wasn't enough time, you get down to 5 seconds, you can click a minute and it'll start all over again. So there's no issue. You can do lots of different stuff. You can't click the same one twice, and you can't, if you wanted 2 minutes, you can't click 1 minute twice. But like I said, you can just follow along with how it's doing and add more time on. So I'm going to click the 30-second one so I can show you. So here on my teacher end, I can see the timer. On the presentation end, we can see the timer. So what's up on the board. And on the student end, I can also see the timer over here. It's flipping around, of course. And as you can see, it changes color. So as the time decreases, it went from green, now it's going down to yellow because I'm running out of time. And then finally it goes to orange and red when I get to the last 5 seconds. So once the timer counts down, it locks at 0, which is really great because you can multitask. You can maybe even talk to a student if you wanted to while the timer is running and other kids are doing stuff. There's so much that you can do and utilize with that timer. And I also find too that students can get a little bit lazy when it's a Pear deck because it's so much time to get stuff done. Putting that timer on really puts the pressure on them to get their work done and make sure that they're on task with what you're doing. There's also the buttons down here, which is new prompt. So maybe, for example, I didn't like how this question went. The students weren't getting what I was trying to say, or maybe I wanted to attack it from a different way, or maybe I wanted to add something in this presentation, but oops, I forgot to add it in back here when we were in Google Slides. What am I going to do? I want to ask this question and I totally forgot to include it. Or I want to attack this question from a different way and now I can't. I just have to have a discussion. No, you don't. You can click this button called New Prompt. So New Prompt allows you to pop in a question on the fly. So what's fantastic is they have a ton of these templates already made for you. Beginning, during, end of class. Wonderful. And it tells you underneath what type they are. So multiple choice, drawing, text, draggable, all this kind of stuff. So maybe you're like, are you guys getting this material? Like, are you understanding it as we're going through? You can click that button and you can do the drag it down to how you're feeling. And you can have students right on the fly answer how they're doing with that work. Or you can go in and you can choose any type of prompt that you would like. But note, when you do a prompt on the fly, you cannot edit the slide like you would in a Google Slides. When you click that, if you want students to add in, it has to be a verbal slide, okay? And what I mean by that is we go over the presentation mode, you can see it says, please write a response. I can't change what this slide says. So I would have to tell my students and say, all right, let's take it one step further. Now I want to talk about such and such a thing. Go ahead and think about that for a second and now write your response to me about this item. You can't change the slide, but you can just audibly say what you would like the question to be, and students have the option to add to that brand new question. Another great feature is that it does not alter your Google Slides presentation. It is only this one Pear Deck presentation. So that means if I do it with class 1, and class 1 really needed that extra work and those extra questions to get the material, but class 2 is just on it. They're getting it. They don't need these extra questions. It does not save them. It only saves what you have here in your original presentation. So whatever you added on the fly, that's fine. It's not going to add that to other presentations. So you can adjust your needs for every single class that you are working with. Again, amazing. You also have down here these 3 little buttons, which allows you to make everything full screen, very self-explanatory. You can open the projector in a new tab, which is what we have going on over here. You can turn on student pace at any point. So if at any point you feel like you want students to go off on their own, you can go ahead and do that and click turn on student pace. You get a link automatically. So this would be a great way. You create the presentation, you grab the link, you post it to Google Classroom. Hey guys, this is your homework tonight. Do this on your own, flip classroom, learn it, do it. Absorb it. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, got it. And then if we flip over to the student end over here, we can see, I reconnected. Now, as a student, down here in the bottom, I have arrows to move through the presentation on my own, which we did not have before. So now as a student, I can move through on my own and I can answer my questions and I can say, okay, now here's a multiple choice. And my favorite number is 8. And now I'm going to go ahead and what's nice here is too, you can click through like that because this is a numerical option. Then we have what's your favorite number. So I'm going to pick my favorite color right here and I'm going to draw it. I'm one of those crazy people that does 7 like this. Like I said, there's a text feature in here. So I can also click a text box and do 8. Great. My next one. Oh man, my slides are really getting in the way. I can go here. And it says, what's your favorite number? Drag it. Let's drag the icon. Okay, now my favorite number is 6. So I'm going to drag it here. And then I have one more slide. This one is matching. It's a draw slide. So now I'm just going to, I'm on text still. I want to draw this, blah, blah. These are not the correct answers. So please don't judge me on my lack of French knowledge. Okay, boom. I am done as a student, so I finished my work. I can see I did slide 8 out of 8. I'm done. There's no more for me to add. Down here, you can see the little arrow for the next slide turned gray because there is no next slide. And now, as the teacher, back in my dashboard, I can keep tabs with how everyone's doing. So for here, I can see multiple choice. It gives you a full view, a summary view of how everyone's answering. Or I can do grid layout and I can get a full picture of what each individual student answered. I can also do in the overlay layout, I can hover and it'll show me a list of who answered for each one, which is really cool. Again, here's another overlay option where I can see and I can hover and I can find out who did what, or I can do grid and I can find out exactly what each student did. Same thing here. I can scroll through the different answers, or I can see all of them at once, or I can even list layout and do it alphabetically if I so choose. There's a lot of things you can do. Same thing goes here. If I do grid overlaid layout, I will see all of the hearts at the same time and see if there's a ton of them in one area, or I can go through and I can do a grid layout, or I can do a list layout and scroll through each one to see what everyone did. And there's just so much that you can do and understand about your data from your students and what you need to do. So now let's see, maybe I want to go over this slide with everybody because students were really struggling with this number question. So I can go ahead and say, all right, student pace is done, and I click stop student pace. And even though as a student I was on the last slide because I finished, it brings me and snaps me right back to where my teacher is. So I am forced back to where my teacher wants me to be, to the material my teacher wants me to see, and what we need to go over as a class. And again, now we're out of student mode, and we can go through as the instructor mode and go through each slide as I see fit. Then I've gone through my material by students, I've shown them all the correct answers, I feel great about everything, and now I'm ready to go as a teacher. So I can click end over here in the corner. I can name it if I so choose, so if I want to go back and look at the students' responses, I can click period 1 Spanish. You have the option to publish student takeaways, which will send them an individualized Google Doc with a record of all of their answers for each question. But I can just do save and end session. And that's it. And now on my, this is my student view, it just asks me how I thought it went. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. And that's it. So that is Pear Deck. It is amazing. It is a little bit of a splurge if you've never done the premium feature. I really recommend trying it out. They have a free 30-day trial for you to really get an idea. You can do so many of these things with the free. The only difference is that you don't have the option to really see who says what in live time. You can publish a takeaway at the very end for yourself, similar to like a Kahoot, where you can see exactly who said what for every question. But I had free at the beginning. I didn't love it as much. And if you can get your district to pay for the premium option, it is fantastic. It is really a bargain if you get it for the whole school. And I promise you, it will change the way that you teach. I have pretty much eliminated all worksheets in general, especially with hybrid learning, with digital learning, with everything that's going on right now. The less worksheets, the better. The more live understanding, the better. My students at home, I know that they're engaged, even though they're not in front of me. It is amazing. So I highly recommend it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. If you like this video, check out my other ones and subscribe to my channel.